Throughout my life, others have always recognized my beauty. Yet, I never sought to leverage it for my own benefit. In my youth, I harbored aspirations of becoming a model, yet that vision faded with the arrival of Marco in my life. "We have no need for the money, so I would prefer that you refrain from doing it," he stated. In that moment, his choice transformed into my own. At the age of 42, I find myself residing in the home of the man who altered the trajectory of my existence, sharing this space with his son from a previous marriage. Nico, at the age of 23, has recently completed his studies in photography and visual arts at university. He has returned home at last. His domain resides on the upper level, nestled within the duplex's pinnacle. It serves as his haven for creativity. He creates captivating portraits of women and men. Anyone, indeed. Young girls frequently appear and disappear, often taking a seat for his craft. Initially, I believed it was merely his fervor for art. However, everything shifted the moment I inadvertently left his door ajar. How could I have anticipated that a simple portrait sketch would unravel into such a whirlwind of events? Let me share with you how that singular night with Nico evolved into an experience that transcended mere assistance. I understand that you may have your opinions about this, but I can no longer hold it in. On that particular morning, Marco had already departed from the house. I ascended the stairs, noticing that Nico's door was ever so slightly open. I had no intention of stepping inside. As I strolled by, my gaze was drawn to a fleeting glimpse of the canvas within. The sight before me brought me to an abrupt halt. It was a reflection of me. Yet, what unsettled me further was the imposing photograph affixed to the wall beside it. It was an image I had shared on social media long ago. Each line etched upon my face, the profound depths of my gaze, and the swirling emotions within me at that instant were immortalized in his artwork. I was unaware that Nico had observed me with such intensity. And now, as I realized he had downloaded my photo and printed it to craft this portrait, it should have sent a chill down my spine, shouldn't it? Yet it did not. For a fleeting instant, I found myself immobilized in the threshold. My heart raced as a surge of exhilaration, mingled with an indescribable sensation, enveloped me. The rendition of myself captured in that painting was distinct, more resilient, more enchanting. Nico had portrayed me as something greater than I believed myself to be. My hands quivered as I brushed against the edge of the doorframe. I found myself unable to linger any further. With a hushed demeanor, I pivoted and descended the staircase once more. As I made my way to the kitchen, my heart continued to race with an intensity that felt almost palpable. The vision of that painting lingered in my thoughts. I believed it would merely be another artwork. Yet, I found myself mistaken. I never could have envisioned that moment transforming into reality. Be sure to subscribe and activate notifications to stay updated on more captivating tales like this one. Once you reach the conclusion of this tale, I am certain you will find it impossible to refrain from sharing your thoughts. Since Nico came back home, an undeniable energy has sparked between us. There exists a feeling within me that eludes precise articulation. Initially, all seemed ordinary, even comforting. Yet, as time passed, I observed Nico retreating into himself. He began to retreat further into the confines of his room, dedicating countless hours to his work, isolated from the world outside. Typically, his door remained shut, yet the other day, it was inadvertently ajar for just a fleeting moment. That moment, etched into my memory. He had captured my essence on paper. He had taken one of my photos from social media and transformed it into a vibrant creation on his canvas. Each brushstroke seemed to unveil a fragment of my essence. It felt as though he was not merely applying color to my face, but rather capturing the essence of my very soul. Upon gazing at that painting, a deep sensation awakened within me. Yet, I found myself unable to utter a word to Nico regarding the matter. The following day, the raucous sounds emanating from above piqued my curiosity. A girl was shouting, her voice piercing and filled with fury. Before I could fully grasp the situation, the door to Nico's room burst open and the girl charged out. Her face flushed with rage, tears cascading down her cheeks as she rushed by me in the hallway. My heart pounded in my chest. Is it wise to ascend the stairs? I lingered in uncertainty, caught in the struggle between remaining an observer and uncovering the truth of what had transpired. Ultimately, I found myself unable to restrain my impulses. There I stood, poised before Nico's door. I tapped gently. "Nico?" I spoke, my tone wavering. A sigh escaped from within. "Come in," he said, his voice weary and exposed. I eased the door ajar and entered the room. He stood in the center of the room, gazing intently at a canvas. The artwork remained incomplete. The hues and intricacies were impeccable, yet the entire composition still appeared unfinished. "What is happening?" I inquired, my voice betraying the worry I felt. Nico bowed his head, then gradually pivoted to meet my gaze. In his eyes, a certain helplessness lingered, a silent plea for understanding. "That portrait," he remarked, his tone tinged with a sense of resignation. "I had an arrangement for it, a significant undertaking. The client envisioned a portrait capturing the essence of a graceful, strong, and beautiful woman. A substantial sum was proposed. However, it's not solely about the finances, Judith. This is the essence of my character. This endeavor has the potential to unlock new opportunities for my professional journey." As I immersed myself in the creation of that girl's portrait, a dawning realization struck me: it simply wasn't meant to be. He would not have appreciated it. I would have disappointed him. His voice trembled. "What comes next?" "I must present something fresh by tomorrow, it holds great significance." As I absorbed his words, my heart began to race. His gaze was fixed on me, conveying an unspoken request. In that instant, my mind drifted to the painting I had encountered recently, and the way Nico's gaze pierced through me now. "Nico, what do you seek from me?" I spoke, my voice quivering. He gulped, then inhaled deeply. "Judith, I wish to capture your essence on canvas. You embody true strength, grace, and beauty." I paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty, grappling with the right words to express myself. "Yet, is that truly correct?" I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. Nico advanced, his gaze brimming with a blend of resolve and reverence. "Judith, you may not be aware, but it is indeed you. Within you lies beauty, elegance, and strength, all intertwined. I require your assistance to bring this to completion. Time eludes me, yet your presence is essential. Should you find yourself in agreement, we can embark on this journey in silence, side by side." A part of me was crying out, urging me to refuse immediately. Yet, there was another aspect, another facet that was captivated by Nico's words. The glow in his gaze, the sincerity in his tone. I found myself unable to shake the image of that painting I had encountered. The manner in which he perceived me, the emotions it stirred within me. "Nico, is that really what you want?" I inquired, locking eyes with him. "Never have I felt such certainty," he declared, his tone calm yet unwavering. "This is more than a mere painting, Judith, it holds the power to transform everything." A moment of silence lingered in the air. My heart raced with fervor. As I pondered the wisdom of my decision, my gaze fell upon the outfit that Nico was clutching. The dress was a deep black silk, embracing the form with an alluring grace. It exposed the shoulders gracefully, cascading down to unveil just the perfect hint of leg. That's a bit much," I remarked, releasing a soft, anxious chuckle. Nico advanced another step, his gaze both inviting and unwavering. "It will suit you beautifully. I simply long to catch a glimpse of you at your finest. Have faith in me, Judith." With a deep inhalation, I steadied myself. Nico's heartfelt compliments gradually dissolved my hesitation. I gave a subtle nod. "Very well, let us proceed." Nico wore a smile. That warm, sincere smile dispelled every fear nestled in my heart. In that instant, We found ourselves anticipating the arrival of nightfall. Yet, beneath the surface, I understood that this would transcend mere artistry. This evening held the promise of transformation for us both. Upon Marco's return, I took every measure to ensure that all appeared as it should, maintaining an air of normalcy. I remained silent throughout the dinner, while Nico pretended as if everything was perfectly normal. Yet, each time our gazes intertwined, if only for a fleeting moment, the unsaid weight of our connection lingered palpably in the atmosphere. Once I was certain Marco had drifted into slumber, I inhaled deeply. My heart raced as I stealthily ascended the stairs to Nico's room. I softly nudged the door ajar. The chamber was suffused with a gentle, inviting radiance. The soft glow of candles danced in every corner, enveloping the room in a comforting embrace of warmth. The gentle strains of music floated through the air, enhancing the warmth of the surroundings. Nico lingered in the corner, a bottle of wine cradled in his hand. He lifted his glass in my direction. "Welcome," he said, his voice steady yet imbued with a gentle warmth. "Text this place," I remarked, my gaze sweeping across the arrangement in the room. "It is remarkably well conceived. This evening holds a certain magic," he remarked, a subtle smile gracing his lips. "Perfection is a necessity in your world." I took a deep breath, yet a faint smile crept onto my lips. In that instant, rather than pondering my actions, I chose to embrace the present fully. Nico waved his hand toward the corner of the room. "A space has been arranged for you to prepare, and your dress awaits over there." I inclined my head and made my way to the corner. From the periphery of my vision, I caught sight of Nico as he pivoted away, choosing to avert his gaze rather than observe. The subtle act alleviated a portion of my anxiety. I lifted the dress and donned it, casting a fleeting look at my reflection in the mirror. The black silk embraced my form with exquisite precision. My shoulders were exposed, and the neckline elegantly accentuated my collarbone. "Nico, I'm ready," I murmured, though my voice barely rose above a whisper. He pivoted, and our gazes intertwined. In their gaze, there was a deep admiration, distinct from the appreciation an artist holds for their muse. It was the reverent admiration a man feels for a woman. "Perfect," he said, his voice deliberate, as he lifted his glass once more. "Would you mind taking a seat in that chair?" I made my way to the chair he indicated. It exuded elegance, possessing an antique allure that harmonized perfectly with the ambience. As I settled into my seat, a whirlwind of anticipation and anxiety coursed through my veins. Nico filled a glass with wine and offered it to me. "This evening calls for a moment of tranquility, let the wine be your companion in unwinding." I lifted the glass to my lips, our gazes intertwining once more. "I ought to be careful not to indulge too much, or I may find myself unwinding a bit too thoroughly," I remarked, a gentle smile gracing my lips. Nico chuckled softly as he maneuvered his chair closer to the easel. "This is rightfully yours. This evening is dedicated entirely to you. Your presence, your essence, will bring this painting to life in a way that feels whole and complete." For a time, the room was enveloped in silence. The atmosphere crackled with energy as Nico's gaze flickered between me and the canvas, his brush gliding with purposeful precision. Despite the nagging voice in my mind urging me to turn away, I found myself unable to do so. I savored another sip of wine, my gaze drifting toward him. "Isn't it challenging to work in this manner?" I inquired, my tone a blend of apprehension and affection. "Challenging?" He chuckled softly. "On the contrary. This moment, at this very instant, resonates as the most authentic experience I have ever encountered." He halted momentarily, his brush descending as he fixed his gaze directly into my eyes. "Judith, are you aware? It transcends mere beauty. I've never witnessed such a blend of grace and strength in a single person." His words rendered me speechless. "Nico, I believe you're going a bit too far," I mentioned. Yet, as the words slipped from my lips, I sensed the profound impact they had on me. He insisted, "I'm not exaggerating." His gaze remained fixed on me. I feel truly fortunate to be experiencing this moment alongside someone as remarkable as you. Creating your likeness transcends mere labor for me. It serves as a means to comprehend you. At that instant, the atmosphere in the room thickened with an almost palpable tension. He grasped his brush once more, yet his motions had grown languid. His gaze wandered from the canvas to me, a subtle dance of attention. "The night's just getting started," he remarked, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Upon the completion of this painting, everything will be irrevocably transformed." As I savored another sip of my wine, a sudden clarity washed over me, illuminating the meaning behind his words. This evening transcended the mere act of capturing a likeness. This night was destined to transform us. Seated in the chair, I became oblivious to the passage of time. Nico sat before the canvas, each brushstroke resonating with a fragment of his very essence. Occasionally, he would stop and cast a fleeting look in my direction. In his gaze, there was a depth that transcended mere admiration from an artist. It was a man's reverence. As I cradled the wine in my hand, each sip drew me deeper into a state of relaxation. Approximately every half hour, Nico would pause for a moment of respite. In the course of the initial intermission, our conversation was limited to just a handful of words. His gaze lingered on me, yet there remained a boundary he refrained from crossing. As the second break approached, the distinction began to fade. It was difficult to discern whether it was the wine or the palpable tension that hung in the air between us. As he approached and softly grasped my hand, I felt a sudden stillness wash over me. "Judith, you are absolutely radiant." He spoke, his tone gentle and inviting. I paused for a heartbeat, allowing the feeling of his fingers intertwined with mine to wash over me. It was during the third break that the boundary between us nearly vanished. Nico extended a hand, delicately tucking a wayward strand of hair that had slipped over my shoulder back into its rightful place. My breath was momentarily suspended. "Judith," he said, his gaze firmly fixed on me. "This painting may fall short of capturing your beauty, yet I shall endeavor to convey it." Each touch and every word drew us nearer with each passing moment. And yet, in some inexplicable way, we found ourselves lingering at the precipice, never quite breaching that threshold. As the night drew to a close, 3 hours had slipped away unnoticed. Nico made one last sweep with his brush, then leaned back, exhaling deeply as he set it down. "It's done," he declared, his eyes shimmering with exhilaration. "Are you prepared?" I rose to my feet, savoring the final drop of my wine. I found myself in a state of mild inebriation, yet my thoughts remained sharp and focused. I approached him, my heart pounding in my chest. Upon gazing at the painting, my breath caught in my throat. "This," I remarked, my gaze fixed unwaveringly on the canvas. "This is truly remarkable, Nico." The figure depicted in the painting was none other than myself. Yet Nico had ensnared me in more than just a physical sense. He had seized an essence that resonated profoundly. The feelings reflected in my gaze, the elegance of my stance, and the power I had yet to acknowledge within myself. The entirety of it lay before me on the canvas. Nico faced me, his eyes alight with admiration. "You're incredible, Judith. This transcends mere representation, it captures the essence of you. Your beauty captivates, your strength inspires, it's all you." At that instant, my emotions surged beyond my grasp. I moved closer, encircling my arms around his neck. "Thank you," I murmured, my voice quivering. Initially, the embrace was pure and untainted. Yet, as Nico's arms encircled my waist and he drew nearer to my face, a profound change stirred within me. It felt as though every barrier that once separated us had vanished into thin air. Our breaths mingled in the dim glow of the flickering candlelight, casting an enchanting aura that rendered the moment all the more surreal. I began to speak, addressing Nico. Yet the words slipped into oblivion. In that instant, I became acutely aware that his lips hovered merely a breath away from mine, and it seemed as though there was no turning back. "Judith," he said, drawing nearer to me. His gaze captured mine, his voice resonating with depth and feeling. "I have something to share with you." The weight of my thoughts has become too heavy to bear in silence. He lingered for a moment, inhaling deeply. My feelings for you run deeper than a mere infatuation. For quite some time now, my feelings for you have been unwavering. I've made attempts to conceal it, yet I find myself utterly unable to do so. His words enveloped the room, cascading over me like a surge of warmth. My heart raced, and my thoughts whirled in a chaotic dance. Nico, this? I murmured. Yet, in that instant, a different understanding dawned upon me. I found myself irresistibly attracted to him, and it was a truth I could no longer ignore. Nico advanced, closing the distance between them. We stood merely a breath apart, his hands softly tracing their path to my waist. From the moment our paths first crossed, I've envisioned you in this light. Judith, it is essential for you to grasp that. As he concluded his thoughts, he gradually leaned closer, and his lips gently brushed against mine. My breath hitched. The heat of his lips, paired with the caress of his hands, dissolved every barrier that once separated us. As the kiss drew to a close, he held my gaze for a fleeting moment. Yet that gaze held no inquiry. It was a response. In that instant, retreat was no longer an option. With a gentle motion, my fingers found the straps of my dress, and I carefully let them slip from my shoulders. The silk draped effortlessly over my form, cascading to the floor in a delicate puddle. The flickering candlelight enveloped the room, illuminating my exposed skin with a warm, gentle radiance. And I witnessed the admiration in Nico's eyes grow more profound. Not a single word escaped his lips. In that moment, silence spoke volumes. His hand softly encircled my waist, drawing me closer to the spacious couch. On that fateful night, everything transformed. The connection we shared, the intimacy, had become an undeniable truth. I reclined on the couch, my heart racing, breaths coming in fits and starts. Nico gazed into my eyes, offering a gentle smile. He shed his garments and flung them carelessly next to my dress. All obstacles that once separated us had vanished entirely. He leaned in closer, his hand softly settling on my waist. As his lips pressed a tender kiss against my neck, an electric shiver coursed through me, igniting every nerve in my body. The shiver coursing through her was not solely a result of his touch. It emerged from a deep well of emotion that had long remained dormant within me. His lips glided gently from my neck to my shoulder, igniting an intensity I had never experienced before. My hands, almost as if guided by an unseen force, sought the warmth of his back. The tautness of his muscles was palpable, the warmth emanating from him unmistakable. Nico's breath etched itself onto my skin, and with each caress, he drew me nearer to him. "Judith," he murmured, his voice soft and brimming with feeling. "Your beauty surpasses anything I could have ever envisioned." And with that, time seemed to accelerate. As I gazed at him, the sincerity in his words washed over me. Yet, his resolute actions drew me away from my feelings and into an entirely different realm. An unrefined, wild thrill. Our lips collided once more, this time with a fervor that was both intense and profound. My fingers wove through his hair, the fervor of the moment silencing every thought that dared to linger in my mind. With my other hand, I clutched the couch cover firmly. I fought to maintain my silence. In that moment, I attempted to pry my eyes open, yet my body had seized control. My muscles tightened, and with each caress, it seemed as though currents of energy surged within me. Nico's kisses descended, gliding softly down my neck. His hands moved gracefully over my skin, creating a warm trail that enveloped my body. I surrendered myself to him entirely, my mind enveloped by the fervor of the experience. He hovered above me, his gaze a blend of astonishment and fervent longing. His breath came in rapid bursts, and an involuntary quiver laced his voice. "Is this a dream, Judith?" he murmured softly. At that instant, I attempted to pry my eyes open, yet my body had seized control. My eyes were drawn to the ceiling, my fingers clutching the blanket with increasing intensity. Nico drew nearer, his face mere inches from my own. His lips grazed my ear as he whispered, Judith, it is you who stirs these feelings within me. I never envisioned you in this light, yet. His breath came in shallow, uneven gasps. You are more authentic than anything else. And then, he continued unabated. I was shaking so intensely that I feared I might completely lose myself. At last, Nico surrendered to the moment. This was not a figment of imagination. This was a reality I had been unwittingly anticipating for countless years. Allow me to express this thought. Our narrative continues beyond this point. Keep your eyes peeled. If you've journeyed with me to this point, it's clear that my tale has resonated with you on a profound level. There is an abundance of insights to unveil, and each moment is one you won't want to overlook. Be sure to tap that follow button,